Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
And I'm Brad, otherwise known as Red Bay.
Got you back on the pod. We got everyone hopefully on this pod. We're going to be talking about submissions from new submitters on the Discord. This is all around the Moxtober event, which is all about designing a card a day based on a prompt. It's a one-word prompt, alpha, smoke, something like that. What card do you want to design just off that prompt? You can kind of design anything you want. People sometimes do themes and stuff like that, but we're not really focused on that kind of stuff today. We're just going to be shouting out a whole bunch of people who joined our Discord, and then just a card from each person that they submitted as part of Moxtober.
Yeah, it's a great month for that combination of creativity, excitement, and then like card velocity. Like just seeing so many new cards, new ideas, new people all sharing at the same time. It's my favorite month in the custom Magic community because there's just so much going on constantly, and it's a real treat for the senses when we're looking at new cards. My phone is buzzing. It's hard to pay attention at work. Just there's so much. There's so many cool cards, cool folks, and yeah. I really liked your idea of highlighting some of our new folks here.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's a little different from this episode from some of our other ones is that the people who submitted these cards didn't necessarily sign up to get their cards like analyzed. So we're going to stick a little more on the celebration side. This is more about just like reading a card, just talking a little bit about what's cool about it, and then moving on. We're not going to try to correct things or like design challenges where we go a little deeper on cards. And maybe I'll just jump in here. The first card that we've got is from a user, Smellhole. Shout out to Smellhole. They have submitted a card that I guess does have a smelly hole, a smoking gun. This is 3 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. It has an equip cost, but it's a little bit of a twist. Collect Evidence 3 from Murders at Karlov Manor. In order to collect Evidence 3, you have to exile cards with total mana value 3 or greater from your graveyard.
Yeah, so we saw in some recent constructed environments where the free equip cost can be really dangerous. I really liked this take on a free equip cost in terms of it's still got that limiter. It's not for free. Like you actually have to have cards in your graveyard to move the smoking gun around.
Yeah.
And then the flavor of it is so good, right? The smoking gun, the collecting the evidence, the tropes are really fun to read.
Like we're using some words that are just naturally cool together. The Death Touch Lifelink combo. Death Touch and Lifelink don't combo with each other, but they just sound cool together. In this case, smoking gun, collect evidence, that just sounds great together. I think that this equip cost has got some potential too. I don't know. I kind of like this idea that sometimes if you have like just a lot of easy re-equipping, you attack with one creature, move the equipment post-combat to another creature to block. Move it back to an attacker, move it back to a blocker, move it back to attacker, back to a blocker. And, you're doing that because you're optimizing your gameplay and you're trying to win a game. But it's a little on the tedious side. If we have something that is like easy to do a couple times, the first collect evidence, the second collect evidence isn't too bad. It's you only 3 mana value. But you don't feel pressured to like keep moving it back and forth because you don't want to eat up that resource.
What I've really liked about how collect evidence was put together is how this doesn't combine that well with fetch lands. So it's not like we're just getting rid of arbitrary cards.
Like a Delve or a Delirium, where those cards like power up significantly when you can use fetch lands or like 1 mana cantrips.
Cool. So our next card from Underworld Dreamer, the one that jumped out at me from them was this Leyline of Inevitability. So this is 2 black, like our other Leylines. It's an enchantment. And if Leyline of Inevitability is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
Probably the one that's famous that's similar to this would be Bastion of Remembrance, which is like a 3 mana enchantment that has this clause of whenever a creature you control dies, you drain 1 from each opponent. It also gives you a 1/1, but it doesn't have the Leyline text. We had actually a discussion in the Discord about what's the potential of ley lines. Should we have more ley lines? Are there ways to do like non-rare ley lines? What makes a fun ley line? There was like a ley line that was banned in Best of One Standard on Arena recently, so this is kind of a hot topic. And here's another take on ley lines.
If we have to do more ley lines, it is kind of fun to staple cool effects onto the ley line instead of just like, I look at Leyline of the Void and Leyline of Sanctity as like, yeah, these are quintessential ley lines and they do an important thing in Magic, but are they that cool? Not really.
Yeah, they're sideboard cards, yeah.
Yeah, whereas this is like having that Bastion of Remembrance effect that you can start the game with on the battlefield. That does seem like something that could be exciting in a way that you could combo with some turn 1 creature, turn 2 creature kind of thing to do some little drains, and I think that's fun.
My friend recently deployed on us Leyline of Mutation, which is a Duskmourn one that you may pay Wooburg rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. This has been on a couple cards, Joda, Fist of the Suns, but on the Leyline, now this gives me a chance to do something like extra funny and explosive. In their case, it was Morophon, which is like a commander. We're getting deep in the weeds here, but with Morophon, you choose a creature type, and then spells of the chosen type cost Wooburg less to cast. With Morophon and this Leyline, all your dragons are free, as long as you have these 2 cards out. You need to cast a 7-mana commander to do that, so if you had to do 7-mana commander and play your Leyline, maybe you're spending a lot of mana here, and that doesn't quite work. But if I could play the Leyline for free, maybe I can get the jump on it and have a little more fun. Or in their case, the Leyline gets destroyed, but then they also had Fist of Sun, so it's a decoy. It's saying use your removal on this thing because I've got more. Do you have a favorite Leyline? Is there another good one out there?
I think my favorite Leyline is Leyline of Punishment. Like this old red Leyline. Players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented. It's not good enough for most environments, but it feels very quintessential red. That sulfuric vortex bit of text, that damage can't be prevented text, like setting a rule that like people can't establish new rules or whatever. Like it's so red in color. I've always appreciated, and easy to grok as well. Like,
yeah, maybe this gives like cards that are just sort of rule setting but aren't that powerful a chance at still being useful. Like it's kind of cool that you can have a card as simple as players can't gain life, damage can't be prevented. But those 2 lines of text on a card just by themselves with no draw a card, with no, when this enters, blah, blah, blah. Those are all kind of like, it's like a little too hard to want to play that kind of card. But at least with a Leyline, you can say, hey, a good chunk of the time, this card's free for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Our next one is from the Real Eli. And they gave us another kind of rule setting card. This is called I Am Error. And it costs Wooburg. Speaking of Wooburg, you get a creature human bug. And a lot of times on this podcast, to help people grok cards, we try to read like the cost, maybe the rarity, and then also the power and toughness. So like, am I playing a 5-mana 1/1, a 5-mana 5/5, a 5-mana 10/10? That helps you understand what the rest of the abilities are. In this case, it's just going to create more questions because I'm going to tell you, you're going to pay your Wooburg mana and get a 1/0. We don't even get a 1/1. So this creature might die right away unless it has some text. And this card has 4 different little clauses on here. You might get the common theme. Having 0 toughness doesn't destroy creatures you control. The legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. Having 0 life doesn't make you lose the game. And you have no maximum hand size. The image here and the reference here, I Am Error, is from Zelda 2, I believe. This is like just like an NPC whose text wasn't filled in, and they just tell you about how they're in error.
Without that lore deep dive, I had no idea what this was, so I really appreciate that.
It pays to be an old Nintendo player, I guess.
Yeah, so it is in everybody's wheelhouse to want to play around with the rules of Magic the Gathering, especially when you get into custom designs and doing things like Having 0 toughness doesn't make you lose your creature. The legend rule doesn't apply. All of those are great bits of rules text to put on a card to, give it a little flash, a little flair, and then that lets you put things like 1/0 in the power toughness spot, and eyebrows raised, like how does this one work? It's definitely fun. It's a fun read.
Mm-hmm. Which of these breaks Magic the most?
Having 0 toughness, so that's like indestructible, but not quite, right? Like it is doing something different because it's gonna.
You would still die to combat damage, I think. This doesn't prevent you from dying from combat damage.
Yeah,
it prevents like a -3/-3 from killing your elf. It prevents that because your elf's a -2/-2, and it just doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
You put 5 -1/-1 counters on everything on the board, and your opponent's creatures all die, and your creatures live. So I guess if they have minus power as well, how useful are they? I don't know. We've just trapped them in an eternal hell. I don't know.
Just like this NPC trapped in Zelda 2.
I guess that's true. But yeah, no toughness, legend rule, 0 life, you're still safe. You have no maximum hand size. I guess once you do 2 of them, you may as well do 4 of them. Maybe that's that's the way that's the statement of this card. You're paying 5 mana. We're going to give you all the different bendy things all at once.
Our next one is from Glue Stick 248. The one that I liked from them was Burning Slice, which is 1 and a red for an instant. Burning Slice deals 3 damage to target creature. That creature can't have +1/+1 counters put on it this turn.
Can't have +1/+1.
So the flavor of it is like, so there's no art. So I'm thinking like it's some type of flaming sword. It like hits the creature, and the burns are so bad that they can't be made stronger or anything like that until that wound heals. And I thought that was kind of an interesting flavor for the card. +1/+1 counters are like, not only are they ubiquitous, but they're on so many cards. And what I also see a lot of now is this +1/+1 counter interplay, stuff like Hardened Scales. I mean, obviously Doubling Season and the like. So this might not be more than an Incinerate or Lightning Strike in a lot of situations, but maybe it is that card that prevents a creature from becoming a 40/40 or something like that, because you were able to hit it with this Burning Slice before 1,000 triggers went off.
Yeah, sometimes it's not necessarily, hey, I can't kill this creature, it's already a 5/5, but I can prevent that 5/5 from turning into a 20/20. Okay. You kind of would see, like back in the day, you might see like deal some damage and that creature can't regenerate this turn. But like regenerate's not really a keyword that's used anymore in Magic. So let's find the other things that are kind of like that. Using fire to make sure a troll can't regenerate. Like that's a classic fantasy trope. What else can we do that's kind of like stopping regenerate that still gives some flavor? And, is otherwise just kind of like a cool workhorse card that you put in a lot of decks.
Yeah.
All right, our next card is from YABO. All caps. Maybe I should have said that louder. YABO. They submitted Alpha, 3 and a white for a 4/3, 4-mana 4/3. Creature avatar with first strike and protection from reprints. This creature has protection from every printing of a card except the first one. If a card has more than one printing in a set, it has protection from each printing other than the first one in collector number order. And then it has a question here. Wait, does that mean this has protection from itself? I guess, yeah. Every copy besides the first time Alpha is printed will have protection from Alpha.
I like the reminder text giving us a little clarity on how to handle all like the booster fun cards as well.
Yeah.
So the stuff that's in the packs normally, this doesn't have protection from that, but that thing with the fun border, oh yeah, it's got protection from that.
Yeah. Does it have cooler art? Can't stop me. I guess maybe this paves the way for the unset that has like half reprints in it or something like that. Do you think we'd ever see on the info line of a Magic card whether a card was a reprint?
If not there, then I could see maybe even a little symbol somewhere on the bottom. Pretty easy to highlight. And the thing is like, I actually think you may have nailed it in like a remastered type of environment where you got some new uncards, you've got some old uncards, and you've got this alpha, and here having protection from half the set. Like, it seems plausible to fit that in there and have it make sense within the environment.
Yeah, this is fun. Reprints. I think this also speaks to a certain kind of player as well, like who wants to have the earliest version of things. I played with like a vintage cube once where the person had all the first foil of each card. Whenever that card first appeared in foil, that's what they put in the cube. And this speaks to maybe not that, maybe to that kind of like aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. Are you a old edition purist yourself, Tim?
I'm not a purist, but I do enjoy. I think I especially enjoy if I can throw in a 3rd edition version of a card. Like I have a couple lightning bolts and a couple like giant growths and stuff like that.
I know for some folks that old art is also really appealing. The one that I think of is that Grim Lavamancer that kind of looks like just like a bunch of blobs. I really like that one.
Yeah. I think I also just kind of like the goofball new art for things sometimes. Like, let me get the weirdest looking version of Arcane Signet. Let's throw that in there too.
Yeah, so we got Regal-Turtwig, and they did Downfall of the Spire. 1 and a white for an enchantment saga. And it's got the regular saga reminder text. So chapter 1, if you have 20 or more ascent counters, destroy all non-land permanents opponent controls. Chapter 2, gain life and ascent counters equal to the number of creatures in your opponent's graveyard. And then chapter 3, shuffle this card into your library.
So this is a Slay the Spire thing. Chapter 1 doesn't do anything the first time you play it. Chapter 2, gain life and ascent counters. Number of creatures in opponent's graveyards. I guess if you have a couple copies of this and you can mill your opponents, maybe that's how you're downfalling people. I think Downfall is like the most popular Slay the Spire mod.
Which one is Downfall?
Downfall, you play as the bosses and you work your way down the tower instead of fighting your way up the tower.
Okay. So it's got also that approach of the Second Son kind of vibe as well, where you're playing this multiple times in a game, and you do. It's tough to think of the games where you do actually hit that 20 ascent counters and you're getting to do this one-sided planar cleansing, but the dream is there. It's cool.
You kind of want to wait to play this for at least a couple turns so that chapter 2 at least gains you like 8 life or whatever. You don't necessarily want to just throw this out on turn 2. If you are in an environment where you can have 4 of a card and you're milling or your opponents have a lot of creatures that you get to kill, this could happen reasonably fast. And you gain life in between, so it saves you until then.
And then if this is in an environment where ascent counters are actually like a named mechanic, maybe this is your cool rare in your ascent counters matters deck, where maybe 10 of your cards all give you ascent counters, and this thing just goes off, right?
Yeah, that's that's like the way to turn this into EDH staple is to gain experience counters instead of ascent counters here. Yeah, gain like a whole handful of experience all at once. Yeah, I guess, if you had ascent counters building into more things in a set, that could be pretty sick too. Even if you are getting ascent counters in other ways, the payoff for doing this isn't like win the game. It is quite a good card, but it's not so good that like cheating it early is really game busting. Yeah, maybe there's a little potential there. Ascension is your way to like have higher and higher difficulty levels in Slay the Spire. So level 20 Ascension is the hardest difficulty that you can play the game at. So that's probably why we got 20 as the target here.
Cool card.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Talone, who was in Moxtober like 2 years ago, but I think missed last year, so we're going to count them. They get to be in this episode too. That's what I just decided. Talone here, Talone. They sent to us, hey, this is kind of like our other card. This is called Limited Edition Alpha. 1 blue, blue, blue for an enchantment at rare. Instant and sorcery spells you cast with a name originally printed in Limited Edition Alpha can't be countered. Permanents you control with names originally printed in Limited Edition Alpha have hexproof. And then I think the flavor text is kind of crucial to this one. No one is allowed to touch my Alpha collection. I don't know. I was kind of infatuated with the idea of like giving hexproof to all the bad alpha creatures. I don't know. Like the ability it's giving to the spells, all the spells are insane in alpha, and the creatures are not quite as good. So
yeah, is Crawworm playable with hexproof?
I wonder who gets the best with hexproof here. I guess all your box are safe now.
It also gives your islands hexproof, which is kind
your
of
basic
fun.
lands. Okay, yeah. Very funny.
The other thing I really liked about when we're talking about alpha and beta, like the blue cards are the insane ones. So I really like the blue, blue, blue and the costing of this card, just to really reference, hey, the blue cards are good in alpha. So make sure you're playing those ones.
Yeah, and you can't counter my ancestral recall anymore for my time walk. Very funny.
Okay, from Ortuy, we have Escape Pursuit. 1 and a blue for an instant. And it has return target creature you control to its owner's hand, and cloak a card from your hand. To cloak a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature with Ward 2. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. The flavor text, Sarge, I think we lost him. Elves and Guardsmen, last words.
This is like kind of like a baseline cool card. Hey, I'm going to protect my creature and then potentially put it back on the battlefield. I'd have to pay for it again to flip it back up, but you don't know. But it's also just like a hardcore cheat card that just sort of has like almost like sacrifice a creature on it. You know, if you've got one of those cards that has like a bad ETB, a negative ETB, you get to cloak this card into play face down and then pay some mana to flip it up. Maybe because of the championship this weekend, but Abhorrent Oculus is a card that has seen some like constructed play, and it's like a very good, it's a 5 mana flyer with a cool ability, but it has, as an additional cost to cast this spell, exile 6 cards from your graveyard, which is actually like a decent cost. They have to play a lot of support in order to fill their yard enough to cast this Aberrant Oculus, this big eyeball. With this Escape Pursuit, I could have another creature out or something, my opponents are playing some removal, so I save my creature. That makes me kind of even on cards, and then my Oculus goes in face down. It's a different creature, and then I could just pay 3 mana to flip it up and start getting a lot of value off of that Oculus. Any sort of card that doesn't have a high mana cost, but has like some downside or some additional cost, really wants to work with this Escape Pursuit card.
And the mind game as well of you're playing your Escape Pursuit, you're playing your Abhorrent Oculus, your opponent is aware that you're playing the Oculus, so now you get to play that next level game of like putting like an island onto the battlefield or something like that, and kind of baiting them into paying a removal spell on something that actually isn't worthwhile. And what I really liked about this card, and what I liked about what you're saying about Abhorrent Oculus, is getting to play with Cloak in a way where you have more control over what cards are going down. I think all the Cloak cards were just putting the top card of your library onto the battlefield. So this is a cool way to see some exploration of what Cloak could possibly be.
I think one of the nice things about like Cloak or Manifest, like arbitrary Cloak, like not just morphing things that have morph, but like putting those into play on their own. One of the kind of nice things about that is that they're usually pretty safe, like power wise, because it's not like a full sneak attack. It's not a full cheat into play. It's not like a reanimate. you're still paying the mana cost to flip it over. You still are mostly honest in what you're doing. You can't just use it to cheat. You kind of have to use it to react to your opponent and then do a little bit of cheat. And that's fun. Especially if like tempo is kind of important to you. You need creatures on the battlefield. I get to save my super important creature. Oh, but it's in my hand now, and now I'm so far behind. Well, if I save my important creature and then at least keep a 2/2 out, maybe I throw equipment on it, or I have some attack trigger, or I have some, when you damage your opponent trigger that I need to like keep doing turn after turn, or I just need to throw a block. This allows me to like stay on the board a little bit more than some other protection-y spells.
The art depicts a ninja escaping some guardsmen, and playing into the ninja flavor too is also kind of fun. I wish the Kamigawa ninjas also had access to some of the cloak technology. So you don't know what's necessarily underneath those face down cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the cloak cards are more for any of those cards. Are probably the most fun when like trying to guess what's on the other side of that cloak is like worth doing and not fully straightforward. Sometimes in standard there's like, I think there was like a morph creature who when you flipped it, it was like an Eternal Witness. It was like the only playable morph creature, like you knew what was going to be on the other side. You just had to go through this hoop in order to get some value. Here with Escape Pursuit, or maybe with ninjas, or maybe some other, like Manifest Dread has this a little bit where you don't quite know what's going to be under there, and you kind of have to start to guess, build some information about how good that card is that's face down. You have to wonder.
Yeah.
The next card is one that I saw before because they were in the card critique channel. This is from Therandomguyhi, also Alastar. They got kind of a double name here. And the card that they submitted is called Alpha Agonizer. This is 1 black, red for a sorcery at Mythic. All creatures get -5/-5 until end of turn. For each creature killed, deal 2 damage to any target. It's a pretty potent.
Yeah, that -5/-5 is a strong board wipe. Reminds me of Hour of Devastation. That one dealt 5 damage to each creature, but it also removed Indestructible, and -5/-5, same kind of thing. It'll kill indestructible creatures as well. And then this like extra bit of damage is it's spicy.
This feels like it may be on the edge of being a little explosive, just a little intense. But I think the cousin that I was thinking of back then was Massacre Worm, which is like a famous black card. When it enters, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 on the turn, and then it has a second ability. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life. So you're killing off some stuff, and your opponent's losing life. Massacre Worm, you also get a creature out of it compared to the spell, but the spell's going to kill more things. On a pretty clogged board, this gives you like 4, 5, 6, 7 shocks to throw around, which feels like a pretty big reward.
Yeah, I have lost a fair number of games to Massacre Worm and cloning Massacre Worm, so I think I kind of appreciate that this is a sorcery rather than a creature. So 10 creatures is dealing 20 damage to a person on a multiplayer board. That's actually definitely in the realm of possibility by turn 5 because a couple people have 2 creatures, some people have 3 or 4, and now there's a lot of damage being thrown around.
This feels like super appealing, and I kind of imagine there's probably some decks that I guess you have a lot of incentive to play your own creatures into this. If you just spew 8 goblins onto the battlefield and then do this, you also get 8 shocks at it. Maybe that's part of the potential of this kind of card is board wipes where you want to play into your own board wipe.
Yeah, a little Meat Hook Massacre vibe there.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up from Sky.net, Break the Mirror. 2 black, sorcery. And it has choose 1, destroy target creature. And then the next mode is create a token that's a copy of any creature card in a graveyard that was put there from the battlefield this turn, except it's a nightmare in addition to its other types. And then it has entwine for blue, so choose both if you pay the entwine cost. Entwine cost.
So I have a murder. One mode is like basically just murder, right?
Yep.
And then the other mode, I can make a copy of something that died this turn, which, I don't know, feels like pretty like black enough to not need to be blue. But then if I want to do both, if I want to copy the thing of my choice, that's when I have to pay the entwine cost, and that's when blue gets involved, and then, we're realigned with the color pie. We're making sure we're not giving black something that black doesn't have. And that feels pretty appealing too. I don't know. Like, just in terms of sticking it to your friends. I'm going to kill your guy and I get my own. And I get their ETB, all this other stuff.
Yeah. So at 2 black, black, blue, we're getting into fractured identity territory. Very, very similar realm there. But I was actually thinking about Come Back Wrong from Duskmourn, the destroy target creature, and then you create a token copy of that creature, but you only get to hold on to it for that turn. You have to sacrifice it at the beginning of your end step. So it seems like you could potentially do either mode in black, like you were saying, and then once you add the blue in there, it's a sealed deal.
I guess this is pretty close to mind control, just like a control magic, gain control of target creature if you do have the blue mana, except it just like detours to the graveyard for a moment. But that's still cool. That's fun. People want to do that.
Yeah, getting those ETBs it does really change the texture of the card compared to a control magic or a mind control. How often do you think you're just copying something?
I guess if you don't always have access to blue, if I'm playing like a Rakdos deck and I've got like one blue dual land in my deck, maybe that's where like it's kind of fun that this has this entwine mode where I can wait for the perfect opportunity, the right combat to then make a copy of my big creature that just died or their big creature that just died. And then if I do draw my blue mana, that's when I get to do whatever I want. But until I draw my blue mana, I still have like a bunch of cool things to do with this card. All right, yeah, that's cool. Sky.net. Wait a second. Are we in trouble? The robots come to design cards. I don't even want to know. Is that an actual URL?
Yeah, I don't know if you should go to that link, actually.
All right, yeah. Next up, we've got PlaidWeasel. And they had a bunch of cards that are themed around the Muppets, like the puppet characters that, I love the Muppets. I watched a lot of Muppet stuff when I was a kid. And one of them I almost picked is about throwing fish around. New Zealand. But the one I'm actually going to go with here is a kind of a classic Muppets character, Animal Loose Cannon. He's surfing on a Team USA surfboard here. And he's 2 red for a 4/2 haste, 4 mana 4/2 haste, which feels kind of nice. He's a legendary creature, Muppet Bard. I guess because he's in a band, so he's a bard. He's a Muppet. That's a new creature type, it looks like. Whenever Animal Loose Cannon attacks, discard a card at random. If you discarded a non-land card this way, Animal deals damage equal to that card's mana value to any target. Oh, that's kind of cool. Then draw a card. Oh, okay. So we're even on cards. But we don't get to control which card gets discarded, but we do get to throw around shocks or lightning bolts or some other thing. Oh, there's even a fact on this card. The official 1998 Olympic mascot for the U.S. snowboarding team. Yes, really. All right.
Yeah, I was loving the Muppet cards as they were coming up in the Moxtober channel, just like you were saying. This is a potent card, like a 4/2 that attacks. You get a little bit of a rummage.
Yeah.
No, you don't get to control it, and I think that's important for matching with Animal's flavor for sure.
Yeah.
What's cool is that because it's this like reflexive trigger is you get to see what card goes into your graveyard and then pick your target. So it's not like you got to select the target and then hope that you're discarding the right card for it. You get to know how much damage you're going to deal, if you're going to deal any, and then go from there.
Yeah, that reflexive trigger, as you called it, is kind of important for these kinds of cards. There have been ones in the past that have been kind of so because you had to guess if you're going to have enough damage, and this makes sure that you don't have that problem. If you discarded a non-land card this way, that's like a secondary trigger based off of your first thing. And if I'm discarding a 3-mana thing to deal 3. Maybe I'm getting a blocker out of the way so that Animal survives, so I get to do it again next turn. If I'm playing in Commander or something, one player's not going to have many blockers, so Animal can keep attacking every turn, throw out damage every turn, have a good time. You make all the animal noises. He's trashing his hotel room. Loose cannon.
Next, we've got Evan. And they've created Thunderous Sozu for red and a green. It's a kindred artifact giant, and it has tap, deal 1 damage to each creature and each player. Tap a giant you control, untap Thunderous Sozu. And then it's got I think this is a poem in the flavor text. Zen gardens of whole deserts, each line, delicately carved with rakes, each tine, expertly crafted from a treant, each pine.
Wow. The Sozu is like it's like an audio like scarecrow. It's if you've ever seen like water pours in and when it fills in, it tips over and clanks. It's like a little bamboo or wooden thing. They just make a little bit of noise every 20 seconds. And I guess, I don't know, animals don't really like startling noises. So they're kind of meant to be annoying to creatures, but maybe they're also peaceful. Maybe you meditate, it's the ticking of a clock. It can be comforting. And then I guess this Sozu is maybe like a gigantic one because it's Kindred Artifact Giant. You get to tap to deal 1 damage to each creature and each player. Oh, so yeah, we're startling animals with this, right? We're dealing 1 damage. Animals want to stay away. And they could tap a giant to untap it. Because physically, you could walk over to like a real Sozu and just like tip it yourself, right? You could just make that happen.
But this one's very large because you need a giant to tip it.
This feels like this has play value too. 2 mana, I get to deal damage to each player every turn and also each creature, so I'm clearing all the little guys out of the way. My giants don't need trample anymore to get through because all the little guys are all getting blown up by the thunder. And then if I want to deal a bunch of damage and I have 1 or 2 giants around, I get to, spread out 3 damage to all creatures or something. This does a lot of cleanup.
Yeah, and maybe you're in a situation where your giants can't attack, and okay, well, I guess I'll tap my Thunderous Sozu 3 or 4 times this turn, and that's dealing a bunch of damage to each of the players. I guess each player does mean that you yourself need maybe some life gain or something like that to not cause the game to go into a draw, but that maybe that's kind of a fun thing too as well. Yeah. Is how do I make this more uneven?
Yeah, it deals it to each player. So you also, in a giant deck, oftentimes you're a little behind your opponents, so you might actually be a little lower on, but you have a lot of control. Yeah, that's the big thing.
And giants are generally bigger, so the dealing 1 damage to each creature, you're probably keeping your creatures, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see the play value in it, but I appreciate it that you can tap a Thunderous Sozu to untap another Thunderous Sozu.
I guess whenever a permanent you control taps or untaps, you could just trigger that as many times as you want. It could untap itself, right? Tap a giant, tap itself, the untap itself. You could just...
oh, yeah, that's right.
You could just shake it. You could just Maraca if you want to. It's like Mesmeric Orb. Is that what it is? Whenever a permanent becomes untapped.
Or Wake Thresher?
Yeah, the Merfolk. Put the Sozu in your Merfolk deck. Not to ever deal 1 damage to anything, but just to make your Wake Thresher a 100 creature. Who's the giant now? We got just a couple more. Our next one is from Spiderify. And we got a real cute one on here. The art is adorable. It's Gracinda, Prowling Feline. It's a black mana for a 1/1 legendary creature cat at rare. It has Skulk. Whenever Gracinda deals combat damage to an opponent, investigate. And 1 in a black, return Gracinda from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Activate only if you sacrificed a clue token this turn.
Do we have Curiosity kills the cat in a sense, or Curiosity brings the cat back to life, I guess?
Yeah.
That 1/1 Skulk, it's a good stat line to get combat triggers, because it's really hard to get creatures in front of 1/1 Skulks, because it's generally difficult to put 1/1s in your deck naturally. You have to get them off like tokens a lot of the time.
Yeah, this it's got blue eyes in here. I kind of want a little blue on this card. getting like a we don't need to go into different ideas. This is cool. You're hitting your opponent, you investigate, you got to pay 2 extra mana to get your card every turn, but your opponent's gonna have a real hard time keeping this cute little cat off the battlefield. Is this like a character from something? This art is so cute that it makes me think that it's like a character or something. I'm not really seeing anything.
Just a cool name for a cool cat. Okay, so for our last card for the podcast, we've got Hamadyne, and their card is Barely Alive. For black, sorcery. Return target creature to the battlefield with X -1/-1 counters on it, where X is its toughness -1. A little bit of life is often just enough.
Yeah, this is fun. You get to bring a creature back. You probably want something that is expensive and has like a big ability. I guess if it has a lot of power and not a lot of toughness, it's not losing that much. So that's maybe another thing I'm trying to do. But I'm mostly just trying to bring back something that has like a insane ETB, like or just like a really powerful ability.
The art on it is a skeleton art from Eric Deschamps. I think it's from maybe from an
Manor Skeleton.
Yeah, it's Manor Skeleton. That's right. And gotta shout out the skeletons for mono white border. Also noticing that this is going to come back with 1 toughness, which we know is very important for all the skeletons.
What are some of our best things to do with this?
Traxa and Archon of Cruelty, those 2 are still pretty stellar to bring back.
Jin-Gitaxias gets just rip back up to 7 cards. Yeah, some of them are good and some of them aren't. Like bringing most of the Eldrazi back don't matter because they all have cast triggers. You go down to 1 toughness, and it's like -X. So if you have like square power and toughness, you're going down to 1/1 or 2/1 or something like that.
I would not use this to bring back Gigantomancer, which is a 7 and a green creature human shaman 1/1. Am I wrong about that? Where X is its toughness -1? So it would be a 0. It would have 0 toughness, right?
Where X is its toughness -1. If you're a 1/1, X -1 is 0, so you have 0 counters on.
Oh, that's cool. So you can bring back 1/1 or 1 toughness creatures with no counters on them. That's a really cool. So there is actually play for bringing back small creatures.
Gigantomancer's Day in the Sun.
Yeah, that's cool.
I guess that might be the only one of like 8 mana 1/1s that you want to bring back. You might have just nailed it right there. Yeah. I don't know. That seems fun. It's like cheating in a different way. That's all we're trying to do is just cheat in a new way with some new cards. Most of the big cards, I'm just like scrolling through all the like 8 mana value plus creatures are pretty square. Like there aren't that many that are lopsided. Like I think there's so many like 1/4s and 4/1s, like that exists. There's a lot of those in Magic, but there's not a lot of like 10/5s. That doesn't exist quite as much. I guess if it has an ability that gives it additional stats besides its like printed power. That's the other thing you want to do. Alrighty, that was our highlight of all the new submitters that we got, which is, I don't know, really fun. I don't know, I had a good time looking at all these cards. I think we also wanted to shout out some of the other stuff that people are doing in Moxtober. Moxtober is a mixture of, hey, throw in a couple cards. Do this for the first time. Try out making some Magic cards. But, like people also like to get a little ambition in there. And this is kind of our Moxtober for the year, so we wanted to make sure we shouted those out too.
Yeah, I know Larset started the month off endeavoring to not make any Dimir cards.
Oh.
They're a user that frequently makes Dimir cards, and I think they have the Dimir reaction in the Discord server is kind of linked to them, basically.
Yeah.
So I know that's a fun challenge for them. And then, Sage B was making... I think Sage said that they were doing Greek-inspired packs, so it's hard to not link that a little bit to Theros, and I know that there's some Theros influence in there, but thought that was also a fun way to approach Moxtober, having a theme, and then that goal as well is a cool part of Moxtober. Wanting to come out of the month with some type of finished product, something that you can say, hey, I'm going to sleeve up this deck or something like that, and play that somewhere. I think that that's a lot of fun too.
Yeah, it looks like all the cards, at least so far, have been just in 3 colors, have been in green, red, and white. So maybe there'll be a final card at the end that collects all these cards together. Yeah, that'd be cool. These are name checks of the actual Greek gods. There's a Demeter, god of harvest. What else we got here? Polyphemus, the Cyclops. So we got some actual characters we're realizing, not our own knockoff characters. I know Brad, our other Bradley Rose, who was the creator of Moxtober, is doing Tactics Ogre inspired cards. Tactics Ogre is like an old series of kind of strategy games, fantasy strategy games, a little RPG-ish. Brad's been playing the N64 version of that game on stream for a while, so it's like filling his head, and he had to make Moxtober to go with Moxtober, which is Ogre Battle, Tactics Ogre kind of stuff. And they all have the little artwork from those games.
I love those little sprites in the where the images for the magic cards would normally go. It's fun art to take a look at.
Some of them are even just like dialogues from the game. Like I'm looking at Decoy Mission here, and in addition to its normal rules text, it's got a little bit of a scene from the game, and then one person saying hee hee hee, ha 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 ha. And the other person, why are you laughing? What's so funny? Oh, because it's a decoy mission. So we got some text bubbles in magic art, which is kind of funny. Juliet's doing the Romance to the Three Kingdoms, Portal Three Kingdoms, the magic set that was meant to be sort of an intro set for Asia about 20 years ago. What can we do with those card concepts? Can we make new cards based off of that? I always enjoy rework some existing magic cards for a new standard or for a new goal.
With Juliet's cards, the framing that they picked was really fun. The Puma style in MSC, so it creates this full art appearance, but it still maintains most of the card border, and it's definitely a different look without being too ostentatious or anything like that.
I like that style. It's subtle, but it looks good. It looks good for these cards.
I attempted to use the colorless symbol in all of my cards for Moxtober. I got a little bit of a hit for it in Modern Horizons 3, where they were doing a little bit of colorless plus color in the mix of it, and I thought, okay, this is going to be my thing. And then just a gentle reminder to everybody: if you didn't finish Moxtober, that is totally fine.
You pre-forgave yourself. You're unwilling to be disappointed in yourself. You're not allowing yourself to feel bad if if I only get 18 cards or 14 cards designed, I can still be happy. Seems good. Do you have a theme for these? And no, these are all kind of different. Some of these are Eldrazi-ish, and some of them it's like a tech-looking card. Arbiter class, is that I always think of Halo with the Arbiters, but is that what Arbiter is that?
No idea.
Oh, you just made it up?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, while voting, other players can't vote. Uh-oh. Funny. Yeah. So a lot of Moxtober is just being in the channel and hanging out and making cards and looking at other people's cards. And you don't always need an episode to know you should do that, but we try to give people at least a glimpse as to what's fun about Moxtober every year. And if you missed it this year, you can always try it out next year. Or you could just start designing cards whenever you want. We're not your parents.
Yeah.
If you'd like to make a cool card for us and get it submitted in the Discord, even if you missed Moxtober, you can still get in on our design challenge. We do a monthly challenge. And the format's actually a little bit like this episode. We go through each card, we give our feedback. The design challenge is a little more, we're trying to give some feedback of some other ideas on the card. How could we fix this card? Or what would we do to change the gameplay of this card? So if you want a little bit more in-depth feedback on your cards, our November design challenge here is going November. I don't know. Julia was trying to talk me into this into this challenge name. I'm still trying to work my mind around the pun. Going Nova. Take an existing instant or sorcery card and make a creature card that can cast that card once. Now you got a lot of flexibility. Do you want to do an adventure? An adventure you could have lightning bolt on one side and a creature on the other. Do you want to do like a spell shaper? Like you could discard a card. Do you want channel? Hey, discard this card, get a lightning bolt. But what we want you to do, we want you to get on Scryfall. We want you to filter by instants and sorceries. We want you to sort or add whatever other filters you want. Look at a couple cards. Think through what instant or sorcery would make a good addition to a creature. And we want you to cast that card once. That's our goal here. We got leaves falling, at least around me, in November. So one of our bonus points here, if you want to shoot for that, is nothing gold can stay. Got those golden leaves outside. Make the base card monocolor. This is maybe pushing us away from like a commander card, more into like a role player kind of thing. And then Vampire Weekend, a life payment is required somewhere on the card. Maybe it's just 1 or 2 life in order to cast this spell. Maybe it's pay all but 1 of your life. And that's why you can only cast this card once. Any instance sorceries pop in your mind? Any card that feels like it deserves to be on a creature?
So my first search was instance or sorceries, game paper. So if you're looking for inspiration, there are 6,557 instance and sorceries where you can find some cool cards. Yeah. And when I was initially scrolling through here, Acid Rain jumped out at me. So destroy all forests in play. It's an oldie. This is not an official bonus point, but yeah, if you could get into the weeds on some instance and sorceries, I think Tim and team will really appreciate figuring out exactly what card you're referencing for the existing instant or sorcery. I think that's always a fun mini game.
I'm scrolling through some too. How do we get Approach of the Second Sun on a creature? Do you have to recast the creature? Do you have to cast a card named Approach to the Second Sun? I don't know. Contract from Below. Give us an anti-card. And if you want to get a card in, that'll be due November 29th. Anything you want to tell people about Red Bay?
Just in addition to the design challenge, there's still You Make the Pack going along.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a sequel pack to a pack that we did earlier. So we're trying to flesh that set out a little bit more.
Yeah.
This one's not one of our turbo rounds, which I think is kind of a nice, slower change of pace for you can get in there, you can make cards, you can talk with people. It's not a whirlwind. It's not going to disappear before you even know it.
Yeah.
And then the other smaller game that kind of got backburnered a little bit as Moxtober was sort of going was Popcorn.
Oh yeah.
The only prerequisite is that you submit a card that is kind of mechanically linked to the last card that was posted. So there's a Popcorn thread on the Discord. There's a card at the bottom of the list, and then you just make a card that riffs on that.
But with Popcorn, the whole idea here is not you have to know what the 100 cards are. With Popcorn, you have to look at just the previous card, just the one card. Is that about right? You have to look one card back and make sure you match that one, even if you don't really match the previous 100 cards.
Yeah, the idea is that we wanted it to be really, really low investment. We found even with You Make the Pack, as it feels very, you don't need to know much, but you do need to know a little bit. And that unto itself could almost be a bar, or almost feel like a barrier to entry. Yeah, so Popcorn is like, hey, if you can read the last card, then you're good. Look
at one card and think about it, and then get a cool card. Yeah, that's been fun. If you want to get in touch with us, the Discord is the way to do that too. I'm Tim F. Riley there. You're Red Bay. You got Red Bay Brad now. You're no longer League Emperor. You've stepped down from your throne, at least temporarily. But be sure to chat us up there. And most of all, thanks for listening.
Bye.